Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight at 6. I'm Brooke Buckner. We have a lot to get to tonight, but first we're starting with the Razorbacks. In less than 24 hours, they will take the floor in the NCAA tournament for what we're all hoping is a deep run. THV 11's Nick Luttrell made the long trip to Portland and joins us now as we count down to tip-off. Nick, how's it going?
Hey, Brooke, it is going good here in Portland, Oregon. The Razorbacks, as you mentioned, a little less than 24 hours away from their first game in the NCAA tournament. They'll face off against Hawaii tomorrow, but today's been a lot of fun watching all the teams practice, the press conferences, talking to head coach John Calipari. Got to go into the Arkansas locker room and talk to Arkansas's players, DJ Wagner, Nick Pringle, Trevin Brazil, Darius Akov. They're ready to go. They're focused. They're locked in on the job at hand, which is to win one game at a time here in the NCAA tournament. But they're excited. You can feel the excitement when you walk into that locker room because this is a team that should be excited, should be confident. After being SEC tournament champs, a few days later, they're here in Portland and they're ready to go for March Madness. We'll have more coverage coming up later tonight. Brooke?
A little bit later. Hey, don't forget, coming up at 6:30, Nick and Tyler Cass will bring you our Chasing a Championship special. They're going to take a closer look at the matchup and more. That's tonight at 6:30.
State with temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s today, but they're going to climb into the middle to upper 80s by the weekend. Check out the highs today. We managed 70 in Conway, 67 Little Rock, and that's going to change tonight. We did make it to 70. 71 Fayetteville, 74 Texarkana, 73 Camden, and other places in the state, northeast Arkansas, we're in the 60s. Right now, we're at 69. We did bounce up to 70 last hour. 72 in Fort Smith, 74 Texarkana. These places in western Arkansas over the weekend are going to manage the upper 80s close to 90. We've had some high overcast conditions throughout the day. High clouds moving in and out, but the sunshine did help us warm us up. Going to cool off tonight. Look for the 40s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's high temperatures managing the lower to mid 80s. Let's go 87 though, Fort Smith, and it gets hotter from there. I'll have those tips for you next time.
Tonight, we now know when the high-profile murder trial of a Lonoke County Sheriff candidate will restart. Aaron Spencer will stand trial in late June after a decision today by the newly appointed judge. THV 11's Carter Thweet brings us up to date.
New faces, new dates for the man hoping to be the next sheriff here. At the Lonoke County Courthouse Wednesday, a pretrial hearing for Aaron Spencer, the man who won the county's Republican primary for sheriff after killing the man accused of abusing his underage daughter. In January, the Arkansas Supreme Court removed Judge Barbara Elmore from the case and appointed retired Judge Ralph Wilson. Due to national attention on the case and Spencer's campaign, Judge Wilson appointed Roy Ockert as a media representative for the trial.
Today was sort of a get acquainted session for Judge Wilson, who was appointed to the case after it had been started and restarted. So he wanted to see the courtroom and meet the attorneys.
But that's not all that happened. Judge Wilson, who lives in Osceola, made a decision supported by lawyers on both sides on when to hold the trial.
The trial has tentatively been set for June 22nd. And it's expected to last 2 weeks.
There's also a pretrial hearing set for April 29th. One topic that could come up is where to hold the trial. After Wednesday's hearing, Wilson and attorneys toured the Cabot Justice Center, which can hold more people than the Lonoke County Courthouse.
Judge Wilson knows that this is a high-profile case. There's a lot of interest in it in Lonoke County and the surrounding area, a lot of interest in it from the media. He wants to accommodate as many people as possible.
There's also a chance the trial could be moved up 1 week to June 15th if the defense's schedule allows. In Lonoke, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
Carter, thank you. Moving the trial wouldn't be unprecedented. 4 years ago, the high-profile trial of Lonoke County Sheriff's Deputy Michael Davis moved to the Cabot Armory. A jury convicted him of negligent homicide and the killing of Hunter Britton during a traffic stop. We are also working to learn more on the North Little Rock strip club, the Peppermint Hippo, which is appealing the removal of its liquor license. They went before the State Alcohol Board today after being tagged in immediate danger to public safety last month. Investigators say they found a pattern of serious violations, including incidents tied to injuries, deaths, and alleged credit card fraud. We will bring you those updates once we have them. Meanwhile, with April testing approaching, time is running out for some third graders to meet reading requirements. Now teachers and literacy groups are stepping in. THV 11's Tanya Motorzitsky shows us how they're hoping to make a difference one page at a time.
And it has always been our first priority to have kids reading on grade level, but certainly the expectations this year with third grade retention up the ante.
Across Arkansas, schools are focused on reading, making sure students are ready before April testing. This school year marks the first under the Arkansas Learns Act, a law that requires third graders who did not meet literacy standards to repeat the grade. The Arkansas Division of Elementary and Secondary Education has identified third grade as a pivotal moment in a child's academic success. Whitehall Superintendent Gary Williams says out of 300 students, about 12 of those are not making the progress needed for next month's testing. Districts like Whitehall are working hard to ensure every student can read. Williams says they're constantly working with students and families.
They may be a struggling reader, but they're not the same, so we work with them in small group with the interventionist on a daily.
He says they're developing a summer tutoring program.
Students, high quality tutoring that will allow students to receive some additional support, and then we'll be able to reassess them at the end. And if they make the necessary improvements there, then that will allow them to move on to the next grade.
Other partnerships like Our Kids Can Read aim to support schools, teachers, and families through tutoring, after school, and summer programs. Executive Director Kathy French says the clock is ticking for some families facing extra pressures.
The urgency has increased. I mean, obviously, we want every child reading on grade level, and we want them to have those skills they need. If they don't, what ends up happening is they end up falling farther and farther behind.
This summer, she says they're adding community literacy workshops.
And really, it's to help those caregivers understand what are these words in literacy that people hear about? Like, what is phonics? What is phonemic awareness?
April Reisma with the Arkansas Education Association says these added pressures on teachers are an attack on education and do not improve quality.
It's the system's fault, and we need to improve our system. If we don't put public education on the front burner and take care of it now, it will be nearly impossible to do it in the future.
Reisma says teachers in schools need real support.
We need to take care of those young children, the pre-K, as they're learning those letters and their sounds, and making sure that they understand how to read before they can actually comprehend what they read.
In Little Rock, Tanya Motorzitsky, THV 11 News.
Tanya, thank you. We reached out to the State Department of Education for a comment. They did not get back to us. Again, testing starts in April. Over now to our continuing coverage of the partial government shutdown that is leaving travelers and airport workers stressed the longer it goes on. It's led to longer lines at airports as TSA agents are quitting or not showing up to work until they get paid. In Congress, Republicans and Democrats are deadlocked over immigration reform and unable to pass a funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security.
I actually don't know how you would sleep at night, knowing that you're hurting families like that.
Rather than stop a cruel deportation machine that is terrorizing American communities, Trump and Republicans chose to shut down DHS.
Right now, 50,000 TSA workers are working without pay, and Acting Deputy Administrator Adam Stahl says if problems persist, entire airports could shut down. More than 24 jobs will be cut here in Arkansas at the end of the month due to a loss of funding at the Department of Commerce. According to the state, employees will not receive severance, but they will be eligible for special reemployment consideration for up to 1 year. A report on the reductions is set to be presented to lawmakers at a meeting of the Arkansas Legislative Council. Students at the University of Arkansas are pushing back on a plan to boost funding for Razorbacks athletics. It would add nearly $11 million to the athletic department budget. But a new student poll from the Associated Student Government shows more than 80% of students oppose raising tuition or fees to pay for it. Student leaders say they plan to take those concerns to university officials, while some state lawmakers are also raising questions about the cost. The Senate has begun a marathon debate session over an elections bill dubbed the Save America Act. President Trump has been pushing for the legislation, claiming it is needed to prevent cheating, but Democrats argue it's really about voter suppression. Erica Brown is on Capitol Hill with the details.
On the Senate floor Wednesday, lawmakers continued a marathon debate on the Save America Act, a bill that would require proof of citizenship to register to vote, along with photo ID to cast a ballot.
Certainly, if they're not citizens, they shouldn't be registered to vote automatically.
The SAVE Act makes voting harder and makes registration much harder for U.S. citizens.
President Trump has been pushing for the legislation, arguing it is needed to protect election integrity.
Who would not have voter ID? Who would not have proof of citizenship? And the only people who would want not to have that are people that want to cheat. It's very, very simple. We can't let that happen.
But Democrats say the bill could disenfranchise millions of Americans who may not have access to documents such as a passport or birth certificate.
Donald Trump knows that he is losing. That's what this is about. He's losing.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune has acknowledged the legislation does not have the votes needed to pass, but he promised a, quote, full and robust debate on the Senate floor this week.
I think it's an issue that's really fundamental and important to free and fair elections in this country.
Thune said the debate would force Democrats to defend their position on the issue, and the discussion could last a week or more. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In addition to the current legislation, the president has also demanded that lawmakers add a ban to most mail-in ballots.
Bring in the heat by the weekend. Temperatures tomorrow begin to warm up. Low 80s Thursday, middle 80s Friday for the first of spring. And I mentioned at 5 o'clock, summer arrives on Saturday. Record-setting temperatures are possible.
After the break, we'll introduce you to this year's Arkansas Spelling Bee champion as he prepares to compete on the national stage.